Yeah, I can. So, like, currently, all of the systems that are not Federation space in Pure and in Tribute are like a rental space. So they pay dues, like us, every month to be able to run the system, and also even if they want defenses too. And all of the system, we don't own them, and they don't own us. Some, like for example, Wolf is a very good ally also to us, and we are good with all of them.
Yeah, it's important to mention that while these renters are neutral, right? We don't hunt them, they don't hunt us, but we do that so they don't take blue tackle into their corp and end up getting us tackled. But that does mean we stay out of their systems. Like we've posted this. I know Taylor has posted this and many before him. We obviously are to stay out of their systems and not hunt them, but we keep them neutral just so that they don't come into our systems. But they know they're not supposed to come into deck or anything like that. So. And that's headed up by who, Wench?
Can you say? Sorry, I missed your last word.
Who is the manager for the rental team you've got working on that?
Delesi and Sajanki are helping on it too.
Right. And then the other team underneath you, you've got the dues teams, which Malfactor used to run pretty extensively, but Shizuka now really stepped up, right?
Yeah, he is. And Malfactor is also in the background, but yeah, Shuzaka is really the person who is helping with it, which is really great. He's doing an awesome work. We can't thank much too much for it.
Very good. So one of the other things we talked to the CEOs about is kind of shaking up the military command, and each alliance, right? There's 3 alliances in the Federation: VVV, Bot 5, and Silent Proper, right? And each one of those kind of have their own military command structures already. But as Silent Alliance proper, we've been focused on the Federation so long, sometimes it's diverged from any silent actual leadership structure, military command, or focus. And it's really just been about the Fed, right? Everyone just waits for a Fed ping to do something versus Silent itself trying to make fleets on their own or stand on its own 2 feet, so to speak, right? It's been so busy running the Fed fleets. So that is one of the things we've really started working in the background with. Crashdown is the military commander for Silent. So and then Bot 5 has a slew of guys doing their thing. So we just want everybody to encourage and welcome Crashdown into this. It's, again, he's former military like myself. Crashdown's a good guy. He really tries to promote and support people. And what we're looking for in that military commander isn't the guy necessarily with the most time to run the most fleets, right? We're really trying to find the guy who's going to work and develop others around him, because through attrition from NetEase, how they've run Eve Echoes, FCs are hard to keep entertained, and I'll get more into that in a minute. But one of the things we really struggle with, and all the corps and all the alliances, is maintaining an FC pool that's active and actually doing something. So we're really glad to have Crashdown on. He's had some great fleets and worked with a few people trying to bring them up to speed. One of his big projects he's working on is the filament fleets. We are funding that as an alliance to keep those needles free for the FCs to hand out, and start running needle fleets. We really want those running nightly, is the goal, right? So the FC program, the junior FC program, people's trying to step up and learn how to FC. One of the easiest ways to get content and directly is to get in a needle fleet, and bounce around the universe. So we're using that tool to help train some FCs and really want to see that program grow. Now, I do want to kind of go back for a second talking about FCs and attrition. It has been a challenge, as everybody knows, to keep people engaged in this game. Most people get bored with the game and find that personality conflicts aren't worth dealing with it for this game, right? And I think we've seen that a couple times with people getting frustrated and to just kind of walk away or they fade away altogether. Sometimes it's big shows of frustration, like with Yoda, and then other times people just kind of fade away and we forget that they're not playing, like Doro, yeah, that guy. Uh, but FCs are hard to keep entertained, and this is the state of the game. And I say that because I want to talk about resource scarcity, right? NetEase has made this game really where there's no resource you can't get from the one system you live in, for the most part. Not talking about the little bit of drone stuff you get out of Cobalt Edge, but you don't need that on a daily basis. That's for, you know, uh, that's for very specific instances, very specific metas, and building top tier drones, right? But you don't need that to play the game. Sorry, Doro. It's just a great example, brother. But I really want everybody to kind of get on the same page. Is the content that we've had to create, like the content we did with Void or Sus and Cache in that area. It's really the only thing that you can do is say I'm going to go kick over somebody's sandcastle because there's just no resource or material insufficiency in your own place. Like debris was one of the only things that was pretty regional specific, and as soon as they introduced CTRs and Sea Undeads, that was gone, right? Strategically, tactically, other than kicking someone's sandcastle over, what reason do we have to go to war, right? And the other part of that is with the structural changes, and you can't downgrade T4. Like you used to be able to go sell the parts when you take their citadels and sell the parts and make money, but that's not even a worthwhile adventure anymore. So it's really just driven to the point where we have to create the content. We have to create narratives and artificial dramas almost to go have a reason to go fight. So I mean, I hope you guys understand. I'm not blaming the lack of content on anyone in particular. I just believe it's really the state of the game, right? It's turned into bot farming. They've got AI PVE first and then AI mining. Like they just continue to want to sell you the newest shiniest core for whatever the shiniest ship is that you've built, but they don't there's no focus on PvP. There's no focus on reasons to go to war. So and the last fake war we're talking about with Cash, we did really good and forming up the Ugar fleets, having one or two fleets per CTA. I would say that we had a really good turnout for the first part of that war, and then Sus turned all their timers to +8 time zone, which we don't play. So it made it really irrelevant for us to be there. We couldn't take any more Sov, and that was the only reason they formed up to fight us. Right? Was when there were Sov timers. We could roam that space all day. They just dock up or not play, and so it was kind of pointless. Right? We would take a few citadels that they had their timers screwed up on, but other than that, there was no action. Like it died out really quick when they changed all their timers. So at the end of that, we were all bored, and they approached us about doing a 50v50, and that's that last fight that you guys saw. I won't really go into that. I'm just saying that was that's why it concluded with that, because both sides were bored and there was no point to the war, right? So I think that kind of sums up the cash campaign. But I mean, I do want to take a minute to really call out FLBR. That corp and NILF did a pretty phenomenal job as well, but FLBR really led the way as far as setting timers in that entire campaign. The grind of setting timers and getting kills because of response fleets was certainly a good chunk on those two corps, and that's something that we've really got to work on is spreading that workload because it is annoying. Like setting those timers sucks. It's not fun. You can set it takes you what 30-45 minutes to set an armor timer, then come back for that timer and you get it to hull, and then they only have to guard it for 15 minutes in a +8 time zone after you've wasted 2 or 3 hours of your life making this happen. So it's annoying, and not a great mechanic for time zones than and Eve Online that when you set a time zone for your pause or for your Citadel, it's a plus or minus window, right? So it's going to come out plus 2 or 3 hours before or 2 or 3 hours after based on RNG. So you can't just directly time zone tank every piece of equipment. Yeah, it sucks. I don't understand why they won't fix that. How they don't see that it's slowly killing the game, but it is what it is. So going down the last other CEO meetings, we really want to make sure that people understand that new FCs, people that want to take out fleets, need to be the focus for each corp, and supporting them. Each corp providing them ships, providing them incentives is only something. But at the end of the day, people joining their fleet is really the incentive most of them want, right? Most of the guys want to have fun with their friends, want to make friends along the way and go shoot shit. So when people post those roams and no one shows up, it is the most disheartening thing. We get new FCs, they'll come in and they'll post 1 or 2 fleets, 1 or 2 people show up and they quit trying and people wonder why we have no FCs, right? If we don't support our folks on a daily basis when they come out, I mean there's hundreds of us online in our time zone hours where these guys are pinging fleets. There's no reason they can't get 15, 20 people for a needle. No reason. Needle or just roam, whatever it may be. You guys support your FCs because at the end of the day, those FCs are what protect your homes, right? You're if you like crabbing in 0.0, if you like living in 0.0, never mind the crabbing part of it. If you like having this, you have to help these guys. Because at the end of the day, like we said, NetEase isn't giving them a reason strategically, something to capture, right? So it is completely and utterly on us to support these guys and create the content and be a part of it. All right, so we announced that the SRP has had some changes. So I want to make sure the SRP changes have been kind of communicated to the pilots. What we've really done is it was used to be very specific to the doctrine, right? You had to be in a doctrine ship, and that was the only thing that was covered for the entire alliance. We have opened that up and have continually SRP'd armor fleets and Blops fleets, um, just so that we can continue to support what little bit of PvP content there is. And we just really want to make sure everybody understands that is the point of the alliance, right? The point of the dues, the point of everything that we do together is to make sure we're supporting the people that are going out in PvP. So we have expanded that, and we've expanded it to more capitals. So those on those capital servers know what I'm talking about, but understand that that is the entire point of the program for dues and parts is so that we can encourage and support our PvPers that ultimately give us the right to live where we are. And Red Storm is the first one that's volunteered to be an FC for a US time zone fleet. So good job, Red Storm. Just let me know when you want to ping that out, buddy. Everybody give him a big tag there in the channel for volunteering to lead the next fleet. But that goes back to guys. Every single CEO, every single corp should be pushing FCs, pushing this content, and supporting them. So please understand the focus on that. And that's going to play into further announcements that you guys are all waiting for, right? So the other thing that was announced recently was the bounty board, right? We posted about it, but we haven't really talked about it in person. So we threw up a 50 billion bounty for supers and caps, right? Any pilot, any other alliance, obviously not a blue one. It was 5 billion ISK for any super killed, and the FC can split that for tackle for whoever. And for caps, Oracles included, it was 1 billion ISK, and we blew through that. And Winch Soil, how many days did we blow through that? It was pretty quick.
Yeah, I think it's still running for like maybe 10 cups, and that's all. But most of it is like almost fully done.
Yeah, so I mean, we were like, well, we gladly expand that program if it's the encouragement, because ultimately those guys out hunting could have been crabbing, but they weren't. They were out hunting, PvPing, and creating content. So we just want to continue to support that and show that that's what we have to do for those folks that aren't crabbing and staying involved. We support you. All right, so Winch, you have anything before we get to the elephant in the room?
Yeah, I will check. We have killed like 38 capital ships. So there's still a few up to be killed.
Oh, for our
And
50?
we will, yeah, 38 approximately. I counted them fast. And we can totally expand the bounty kill mails. So let's get killing more.
Yeah, I saw Daros posted a great statistic last night, and we had less than 30 hours of these home defense fleets, and he had counted up. We had killed about 17 billion just stuff roaming in deck from forming up home defense fleets. So that's a huge, huge, huge job. I don't think his math's right though, because just the 3 fiends we killed alone were more than 17 billion. So we'll check his numbers later, or maybe he was talking about big specifically. But yeah, there's definitely been some kills and a great amount of big specific. Okay, fair enough. He's always talking about himself, guys. I'm sorry. But that was just one corp, but again, I have seen amazing quick response. Last night, Hack dropped on Tribute, and we tried to form a response fleet for that, and we had a great fleet that maxed out pretty fast. We had the supers numbers we needed to go deal with that. Unfortunately, they were able to get in and out before we could start moving, just because the 9 Ansiplexes we had to go through to get there. But it was a huge turnout. And then we had a quick response fleet the day before that went into second fleet just here in deck. So that's amazing. I can't say enough, guys. That's great. All right, so the elephant in the room that everybody wants to talk about, and the DMs have been endless. Everybody's asking what's going on. So VVV. Let me back up. I don't want to call it VVV. I'm gonna step back. At the end of the day, about 2 weeks ago, we started having the red wyvern running around deck, right? It was pirate masked, and everybody was, freaking out. How come we're letting this guy in our space? And we were chasing it down. We had a couple hunting fleets. Obviously, we don't post the hunting fleets, right? When you set a trap for someone, it's a very small group of supers that are going to spring that trap, and those guys were talking to each other and setting that up. So there was the general population's like, we're not doing anything about this. When trying to hunt someone that plays opposite time zones of you, it's a very quiet and difficult procedure. So understand that things are happening even if you yourself aren't seeing the ping, right? So at the end of the day, that between Anetti's bug of the fighters revealing the name of the super as they launch their fighters, and then the good old client telling us who it was, we were able to unmask that pilot, and we quickly found out who it was. And it's no secret; everybody knows at this point that Yakai was the one in the Wyvern hunting and killing capitals and Declan. So that was, obviously a big red flag. Like, what the hell's going on? He was confronted, and he basically said that, he's doing us a favor by killing the crabs, and that there's nothing more to say. He would leave the alliance, and Ego would take over as executor of VVV, which he did. He did step down as executor, turned it over to Ego, and Ego, for all intents and purposes, is a great guy. Wasn't feeling the best, and then got this alliance thrown at him and all this drama within like 5 minutes. So we obviously spent a lot of time talking with Ego, Winch, myself, trying to find a peaceful solution to resolve the losses that Yakai inflicted, and we were going to work with VVV to slowly repay those, to make amends to the pilots that lost their ship. And LOLZ, who you guys know was a part of VVV, they are mainly EU and US time zone, but Silent was full and so they were another one of the corps that we put to VVV because we had no room, right? And so they had been in talks with us for about 2 months, really, since they'd even talked to Taylor before that, before Taylor stepped down. So that tells you the time frame. So they had been talking to us about joining. We had interviewed them, had got, we wanted to make sure it was the right fit for all of us. And when Yakai was revealed and all this drama started taking place, they didn't want to be associated with that. So they jumped to Silent. And right, wrong, or indifferent on the timing, they made a decision and we made a conscious decision to say, hey, you guys are pretty good dudes, and we'll give you a shot in the alliance. Saying that, they have what, 4 SOV systems in branch, so that sort of complicated this whole drama with VVV because now there's systems in branch that belong to Silent, because of LOLZ joining us, right? And that was a point of contention. So there was talks about trading and moving Sov, and that was kind of all in the works. And anytime there's drama, there's more drama, right? So the talks kind of faltered, and the Sov didn't get sold. They didn't move, and kind of put our foot down and said we're not going to take a bullshit price for this. Or they were told to downgrade to Tech 2, just take your parts and leave. So that was unacceptable for the parties involved. So we couldn't come to an agreement. And at the same time, this talks are going on, Yakai then started going down into pure blind and killing our renters, which again, we have long since said, you don't hunt our renters. Our renters know not to shoot or tackle or run away from, our guys because they see us come through all the time. But he used a blue tackle, which it's blue to us. He used the UE character to tackle a renter and then killed a renter's vac, I think it was, and a couple other small ships. But it another escalation on the drama. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You can't do this. Sorry, I'm censored multiple TV channels broadcasting this. But it was obviously unacceptable. You can't hunt our renters. And everyone in the Fed knows you don't hunt our renters because that's an income. Yeah, that was the attack on Wolf. Right. So that was day 2 or day 3 of the drama. And then the next day, they decided to start sieging the citadels in Branch. And that was the red line. At that point, I said they're actively shooting our citadels. Um, and they were blue at this point. And that's when I dropped blue immediately from them when they were shooting the citadels and aggression. And I'm getting screenshots of blue ships shooting citadels. And at that point, Ego told us it wasn't a mistake, that the guys were following Yakai's orders to shoot the stations and try and capture the stations. And obviously, that was an unacceptable path. And they said that they would step down or withdraw from the Federation. And that was their decision to withdraw from the Federation and continue shooting our stuff, and obviously keep hunting us in our space. So we went neutral and we took a defensive posture. We kept the doors for diplomacy open, and we've tried continuously to work through this, and it has just escalated. Another corp this morning left VVV to join us because they don't want to be associated with this, and so the fallout continues. However, I did I do have an understanding with Yakai at this point. I understand why he's upset, and I don't want to mince his words, so I will read his words because I think he would say them here himself if he was available, because I think he stands by this. And because everybody asked, why the sudden change? Why is Yakai pissed? Nobody's said anything. Nobody has an answer for that. We were all saying the game's stale. I can't explain why he would do something like this. And Yakai was very specific. He's like, look, I don't want to blow up the alliance. I just want standards and accountability. And the fact that Silent can't pull a 50-man fleet on their own in prime time is worrying. The amount of crabbers sitting in deck is 2 or 3 times that. And then you see 20 junior FCs and a leadership channel that doesn't do a single thing. So he had valid complaints, and complaints that many of us shared, although he had never shared them with us. He took it upon himself just to start killing crabbers. Um, So he's frustrated. He's frustrated that every enemy citadel is +8 time zone, and AOA just comes and defends it. So they've been run off from hunting down in period basis. And he absolutely has a fair point. Silent has grown soft, and that's unacceptable. And there's a lot that we have to do to fix that. And this is one way to do it. It's a wake up call, right? We have seen more um, home defense fleets in the last 3 days than we've seen in the last months, right? Since the Meow War, probably. So it's not the way I would have gone about this. It's not the way any of us wanted to go about this. But it is the complaint that he has, and it's not, and it's again, it's not one that many of us don't share, right? Like a lot of us are frustrated, and understanding that the crabbers that don't PvP at all are frustrating because it's like, how do you pull your weight? Like, what's the fair share? So there's a lot more I think we need to dive into that topic, and at corp levels and alliance levels, having accountability is important, and having consequences is important. Just setting the tax rate to 100% and people still crab. There's only so much you can do, and I get it. Um, so it's one of those things that we all have to kind of do some soul searching and understand. But at the end of the day, he has a point, and it's not without consequences for his actions, though. At the end of the day, right? And for the no, crabbers are people who just rat PVE and they don't come in PvP, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, 100% taxes aren't a solution. A miner doesn't care about this. Crabbers is any PvP. I mean, excuse me, PvE, right? Mining, exploration, anything that you're doing when there's a CTA or a fleet that's up and you're just ignoring it entirely and continue playing the game how you want to. Is unacceptable, and it's unacceptable not because this is the way the game must be played. It's unacceptable because if you want to live in 0.0 space, you have to pull your weight. You have to be a part of this. Now, corps and alliances kind of dictate this, right? Crabbers have their place. If they're selling us minerals to make more ships or whatever, like each corp, each alliance has to have a mix. We have to work together. But at the end of the day, the people that are PvPing and pulling the weight of defending the space have to feel supported, and it can't be the minority. When your PvPers become the minority, that's when you have a problem, right? You need to just go live in 0.4 and turn your AI ratting module on, because you're basically asking for someone to come take your space if you don't step up and defend it yourself. So, at the end, where are we right now? Well, right now we have VVV this morning again attacking the citadels, and including the new corp that has left VVV. So it's what, 4 or 5 citadels and branch. And we really need to stop and I think focus on a important topic, right? Because we talk about Sov, and people would assume that branch was VVV, or that's VVV space, or but I really want to talk about the collective for a minute. I want to shift gears and talk about the Federation, right? Because the Federation has long been bot 5 silent, and since the server war it's certainly been those three: VVV, bot 5, and silent. Okay, that federation, after the server war, after the great deck exodus, when we came back and started rebuilding the space and recapturing the space, um, we worked together as a collective, as a federation. And I think what's important to denote is that no one group could have done it on their own and held the space for any period of time. So any space that we take together, is federation space, right? The Fed, the collective, is a group, and this is the part where people have to understand there is no exit clause to get out of the Federation, right? And keep the space that you have for sovereignty at that point. Because we've moved sovereignty, we've moved space back and forth amongst corps and various alliances several times throughout this adventure. Yes, VVV has predominantly stayed in branch, but VVV had systems in Pureblind and Fade as well. Like we have moved around through time, and as we've settled, they said, okay, well, we want to kind of pull all of our systems together in branch, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make it your home, right? It doesn't make it yours to take when you leave or decide you no longer want to be a part of the Federation. And that's not ultimately what is bothering him or what started this. So I don't want anyone to focus on the Sov, but I want everybody to be on the same page that when you do something together, you stick together. And if you want to no longer be a part of that group and leave, that's fine. But you don't leave with the systems that we all took together, right? There becomes a fine line there and a point of contention that the other side isn't going to see the same way you do. I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to turn it over to Winch for a second. You want to hone in on any points there?
I'm thinking, but no, I think you said it most of all. And like I've read the chat, and for home defense, like everyone is needed to be in home defense. That's not only a few of people doing, because like if you don't do defense, well, you just if you don't do defense, if you don't do PvP, you just can't be in 0.0, because then that will be other people who will do that for you, and it's not normal. Like everybody needs to be do PvP, and everybody needs to be in defense. Like for example, only Dictor. If you come in a Dictor and grab a Dictor and like put a bubble on someone, we have done that in the past and also in other past, and we have done that also in other solves. And in the past, when we have like I don't know, for example, if we want to hunt AOA, for example, if we went to do that and if we took a fleet of 50 people, if after every jumps we were gonna be grabbed into a bubble, well, at some point you can get killed, or you can also be I forgot the one how to say it, like that makes you less wanted to come into that space. So that's what we need to do. And like for fleets and CTA fleets, like yes, there is like big ships like Marzio and else, but that's also the basics as of right now, where the game is. And also, if you don't want to invest in those ships, you can totally be a Logi, because we need many Logi. Logi are a good ship, and also have a bit more SRP than other ships, because we need Logi. And we also need Hectors, good Hectors, also like Aphimous and other ships like that, because all of that and all of those helps the fleet in general. And with helping the fleet, it helps making the fleet, or like getting kill nails, or making the objective. Without that, it's not possible to do it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's shitting on crabbers, right? Like we're not saying that there is a group of people that play on their phone who can't get on comms or won't get on comms. There is a group of people that want to play the game a certain way. Just understand in 0.0, you I don't want to say that you don't have that right. Your corp has the right to take on a few of those, but this is why we've always driven the CTA attendance as part of one of the metrics for corps, is because you can't be the majority, because when we don't have enough people in those fleets, at the end of the day, we don't deserve our space. So I don't want to misconstrue the point that anyone's shitting on crabbers or that you have to play the game our way. No, I'm not. No one's saying that. What we're saying is if you want to live in 0.0, there is a standard and an expectation to maintain. We have to be able to defend the space, right? So I don't I know, and there's different groups of people too. Some people pay NetEase to play the game. Some people try to rat to get their Plex and all that. I get it. I completely get it. But you have to understand that living in 0.0 means you have to defend that space. And you have to be able to get on comms. Like you cannot be an offensive super capital pilot and not get on comms and hear the call outs, hear the warnings, hear the sinos, hear all the things. Like that is just the reality, right? I mean, I'm speaking to the 169 people that are in comms, but generally speaking, we all know that there's people that crab that never get on comms or try to PvP that don't get on comms, and that's all small scale stuff. You can't do major operations like that. So, I just want to drive the point that I really, yeah, Concord, looking at you there, buddy. Um, so I really don't want anyone to take that personal if we're talking about crabbers and the sense, oh, everybody's trying to tell me how to play the game. Nope, nope. 100% not telling you that. Just telling you that to live in 0.0, we have to defend the space. That's a reality. Um, so, all right, we know how we got here. What we don't know is where we're going, right? What we have to have is an expectation of people getting in comms, people getting in the home defense fleets, and proving ourselves. And honestly, I think that is the only way to deal with Yakai is to show that he can't get in his Visago and come kill anything because he's going to get trapped. I don't know any other way to say it. Is I don't want to go burn down Olive Branch around him just to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think escalating in that way is what any of us want. But at the end of the day, we have to come to a consensus and prove that he can't be here, and no one else can do that to us as well. Because it's not just looking at Yakai, right? Yakai's one dude. Really, the only VVV hunting in Declan is Yakai, right? There is other VV Corps shooting the sovereignty and LOLZ. That's a whole nother topic. But as far as dealing with home defense, having those fleets up and having people in them, having people on comms, that's an occurrence that should have been going on long before Yakai decided to go rogue, so to speak. I don't know what can we make a dot. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that one, Concord. So I want to take some time to answer some questions or thoughts or let people share thoughts in the fireside chat. Um, so guys, hold off on the memes and flaming one another for a second. Let's hear some real questions or comments on where we're at right now and where we should go.
Hey, you can totally do that, footboy. Like, for example, I'm French. I can totally ping a fleet in French, and people will come. Some will understand, some won't understand, and that won't be an issue at all. Like, we have done that also for Russian fleets, and that's not an issue at all. I don't care if I run a fleet in French and a part of people understand. Sometimes I may be able, or someone else in French or another language, I may be able to translate and help translate, but otherwise it will be other people who will be able to help in voice comms, to be able to translate, and also in game with like the fleet commands and the text in the game.
All right, so let's go through 100% understand something. Uh, God, I hate your name. You create uncreapatum. How the hell does anyone supposed to pronounce that?
And creativum and
Yes, UNK. That's good. I like it. Uncreatine. Do you even lift, bro? All right, UNK. So basically, what we're saying here is there absolutely needs to be a leadership review on how SOV is distributed, party taxes. I agree. I think there needs to be a general look at that. I think the CEO, the executive branch, understand that what Winch and I have been in this job for a month, a little over, right? Um, but I agree that there is some things that need to be looked at. And if that there's no offense in that, there should be consequences. Let me say this. Actually, UNK, let's talk about the game again. I'm going to go back to blaming NetEase. NetEase does a really shit job. Well, they did no job. They did no work on giving us the data, right? And in EVE Online, we had the API that would tell us the kill mail, but it would tell us not only who the final blow was, right? Final blow, the website just pulls who did the final blow and gives that one character credit, not anyone else in the fleet, not anyone else on the kill mail. So that is the first problem, right? Because you can't really get a true picture of everyone that was involved. CTA participation is a limited scope, a limited picture as well, right? Because a lot of PvP happens outside of CTAs and fleets of that size, right? So NetEase just does a shit job of helping us get that data. Now, we can compile it and do the best we can, but I 100% agree that there should be consequences, and consequences and rewards, right? Like consequences or can be more tax or something, and for people not PvPing, and less tax or material rewards for those that are. We try to do that on a pilot level, but we don't do that at a corp level at all, and that's something I think we should look at. Right? You're not wrong
Yeah,
on that.
we have also the idea like what you said on like for the PvP side of it, because like it counts a lot, and like also the oh, uh, I mean like for example for the CTA ones, and like also depending on what maybe your corp is focused on. Like for example, if you are more focused on something, well, you can help more on that stuff than others and else. But yes, it's something that we wanted to be worked on, and we will work on that.
So I'm going down the list here. Pandalord, I replied to you. Talk to your CEO or directors and have them put forward your name if you want to learn to FC. There's not much learning to it. You just get in the hot seat and let's do it. But we have help for you. Crashdown will support you and myself as well. Saycock, why do we have to take over branch after VVV if can't wait? Why do we have to take over branch after VVV if we can't bring them back into the fold? I'm not sure quite understand that question. Why do we have to burn down branch? Or I'm not sure what you're saying exactly, but I think the general thought process there is the only reason we would attack branch is to put Yakai in his place and say bad boy, bad boy, stop it. Not that we want to hurt anyone in BVV or create that bad blood, but without consequence, right? Like even just trying to hunt his one ship that he's using, what is to stop him from doing it, right? Like I think that's the question. What is the thing that knocks the sense into him and brings everybody back in line? Um, what about our friends, Trog, CRB anymore? So understand that Silent or Yakai's gripe is with Silent, and as you can see here, most people understand that this is drama between Yakai and Silent, and we've really gone, away. We don't want to involve any more friends in drama because that just creates more drama, right? You put more than two people in a room, you create drama. You put five people in a room, you exponentially create more drama. And I don't think any of us want to see that. This gripe, his complaint, is with Silent, and I think we need to stand on our own 2 feet, and show him that his complaint is valid, and we need to pack up to move to Empire, or his complaint is invalid, and we kick his ass. I mean, I don't know what other ways to say that. We show that we are able to stand on our own 2 feet is the only way to prove him wrong, is what I'm saying. All right, scrolling down here. Again, Silent Zebra, no one is saying crabbers aren't necessary. And people in your corp that PVE. I mean, because that's all the game caters to is crabbing and getting the next biggest ship with the next shiniest Neo Rain core or Starcat or little kitty playing on your skin. It's 100% a part of the game, right? So I think you have to understand the balance. That's all we're saying. All right, you might have to tag if there's a question that you need answered. Yeah, tag me or Winterest if there's a question you want answered, because there's a lot of just chat at this point. Nope, here's one from Doro. Kind of just honing on the point. Okay. Yeah, if you have a question or something, please tag Winch and myself so we can see it.
So I just will answer like Laurel question. Well, it's a specific one, but like, what is generally useful and needed for PvP? An interdictor or a scepter that can get to 554, for example. Like, well, interceptors are good, but they are good. I will say like only if all heavy fleets are full, and they are good mainly for scouting and like for being able to do warp on points. Otherwise, they can be useful, but to be honest, you should prefer to be in a Hector or like like a Dictor. But you need to understand how to play a Nictor and a Dictor. And I am sure some people in your corp knows how to do it. Or like you can also ask in a island chat or else. And we can, if we want, we can put like FCs that want to, or like other people that want to do, for example, a course to explain how to use it. Because we have people in the alliance and in the Fed that totally knows how to use Dictors and Hectors.
All right, so going down the questions, these couple ones seem to be very similar. Why don't we just burn VVV? Is there a breaking point where the Fed takes branch back? It seems like they're no longer in the Fed. Please make sure that hostile activities against ships that can tank are handled properly. Super in distress. I'm not sure. Okay, let me talk about those 2 points before we try to read Darlia's point. Um, listen, again, VVV are our friends, right? They have been. You're talking about an alliance, and we're talking about the actions of a few, right? Do we want to blow up all of our friends because of the actions of a few? Is the question, right? That is the answer that we don't have right now, is to say at what point do we say enough is enough and just burn down branch. I mean, ultimately that's on the table, that's part of the discussion. But I don't want to come to a resolution of this and have weeks of bad blood spilled and something that you can't recover from, and you know what I mean, like killing VVV, evicting VVV, and having them move out, I think is the wrong answer, because I think we do have friends there. I think just like the corps that have dropped from VVV want nothing to do with this nonsense. But I agree. I see your point that at some level you have to say bad boy, that's not going to be acceptable, right? Again, and I used this, and JD actually laughed at me, or had a laugh with me, because I said, "What would JD have done?" Right? If this was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, I mean, he would have went on a bender, sieging every citadel in VVV space, right? Like, he would not have put up with any of this bullshit. I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent. What I'm saying is we we have had a more metered response, and we've left the door open for diplomacy, because at any point you look at this, what's the old saying? To divided we fall, together we stand. Like, that's your options, right? And I think anything that divides us and creates more conflict in the space, again, just like someone just pointed out, that's inviting Meow, AOA, all of them to come in and just circle up. I mean, we're just giving more space to AOA at that point, right? And that's not what any of us want to see. So ultimately, I'm sure that there is a point where we do have to hit some citadels, hit some more offensive, not necessarily even Sov, but going in there more offensively and camping their space and making them understand that they have to have home defense fleets if they want to make us do this all day. So I think it's all. At the end of the day, Barrick, I'm going to tell you this. AOA, I mean, Yakai has spent the last years hunting AOA and fighting AOA. I don't think that VVV moving to AOA is really even an option on the table, in the sense of um, they're That isn't their favorite person in the world, so to speak, right? Yeah, there's some that would work with him to kill more silent, maybe, possibly, but he's the one that has been fighting AOA in their time zone for the last years. Okay, Dahlia, I'm not sure I can answer. Super in distress people will not show up. I'm not understanding what you're asking because last night we had a super in distress and tribute and we formed up multiple supers and a response fleet. It's just the distance tribute was is so far away. And hear me out here when I said very specifically all capitals should be in 3 QE. That is our a lot of corps haven't been here or new players don't remember when we formed back up in Declan after the Civil War. 3QE was the capital. That is the staging capital of the alliance. Our doctrines have been put back there, right? Your UGAR should be there, and your capital should be there as well, because the capital umbrella and quick response fleets of supers and all of the other doctrines is what has to happen when you're on the defense, right? It's just there's a limited umbrella of how far that will cover. So getting over to tribute was the challenge last night. I don't know if that answers your question. Red Dev 2 proper standings across all alliances in silent. I understand what you're saying. That goes back to my point that we don't want more drama. I think Bot 5 staying out of this has some merit. Because Yukai's complaint, Yukai's problem is with Silent, not the entire Federation. I think he wants to see us stand on our own 2 feet a little bit better. Dahoro, I'm trying to speed this up because I know you guys have been sitting here for an hour. The project with the filament. So the project with the filament is an FC starter kit, essentially. We're working really hard to make sure we support FCs and Crashdown. Has been given or is will be given filaments to sponsor FCs that want to do this on like a nightly basis. You know, he's got like a sign up sheet where he will give the filament to the FC and he will work with them, go as in go in the fleet with them and let them run it and answer questions and go through and try and kill things together. It's just a filament fleets are a quick way to get across the universe and have some fun because roaming in this game can take hours. So that's the point of the filament fleets is really that instant access to train our FCs on a quick basis.
And I saw in a question if you want to PvP in a carrier or like that, you first need to ask your CEO because your CEO will be able to get you on how to PvP with a carrier. And like we have rooms for people who wants to PvP in cap ships, and there's also specific ones.
Would you rather fight one hell-sized Yokai or one Yokai seized hell? I'm not sized hell. I'm not entirely sure I understand that question, Jack. Going back to Dahlia, your response, yes. I don't know anything else to tell you other than the last like 30 hours. Again, there's time zones where we don't play, right? There's a majority of us sleep at certain time zones. Um, but for the majority of the time zones, what? God, Reaper, help me out, Daros guys. We were basically from Eastern time, 11, 12 Eastern to about 11 midnight, so 12 hours last night. We had standing fleets, and then the day before that as well. So home defense fleets have been up, but if you get killed on the fringes of our time zone, I think that's maybe what you're talking about when the standing fleet's not up. But being in the intel channels and being in the home defense fleet is a first step. But Yoda, I think this is where we talk about because we talked about Hero In when Meow came up here. Hero In just pretty much paid. He played the whole time, right? He no lifed this game. Yoda played a lot. He would go out to his car from work. I mean, I don't know what kind of job this guy had, but Yoda played a lot. Um, and so I think it's important to understand that that attrition, we've lost those people, right?
And that's why we need multiple FCs, not one or two FCs. We need multiple FCs. Also, like their backhand FC, like who can do capital fleet and other big fleets, and others like other FC that can do only light fleets, like YOLO fleets or else, and also Rome's FC and like Hunters FC, like they just for example, I don't know FC that just want to do Blobs FC, or like want to go do Filament, or like Armor fleets. We totally need these FCs because I can ping fleets and people will join them because we have people that want to do this stuff.
I mean, ultimately, strategically, right? Being a filament FC or doing little roams, what you could say, what does that matter? Ultimately, what matters is keeping people interested and staving off the attrition of the game, right? We are trying to keep people entertained and interested. Um, and so instead of eating, Angie's soup sandwich, the only way to address this is to keep people active in PvP, keep people active in comms, and I don't know what else to tell you as far as that. That is, we've all sat around and said, how do we keep FCs engaged, right? Because you can't rely on one person like Yoda did, or like other people before, Hero in for Meow. You can't rely on one person for these games, right? Because they got Panic on it. They got multiple FCs too. So I want everybody to understand that this is collectively a project. If you want to stay in 0.0, you have to contribute. Um, and if you're not that type of person, that's not how you play the game, cool. But you better hope the majority is, or you're going to find yourself in a mod running AI ratting. Uh, so, guys, we've been over an hour now, so I want to wrap it up pretty short. But there is no shame in getting fleets wiped. We have SRP. We support these guys. Every corp should be supporting these folks in the sense of plexes, gifts. I mean, anything. A corpse on their own should be first and foremost supporting FCs, and then the alliance. We're just stepping up to help coordinate filaments and coordinate more people into these groups. But that all is a part of, hey, the Discord has to be here, the people have to be here, and we have to work together. So ultimately, I wanted to announce too, we are going to see more changes to the Discord so that we can have these groups and these channels in here. We're going to remove a lot of the channels because most of you only use the trade channel anyways. A few of you use general chat to sling mud at each other, but other than that, so like the intel and the PvP things, and then there's going to be some voice channels. But we're going to really try and revamp these servers. Like we've done with combining other servers, but we want to minimize the information overload and give you guys a place to hang out and have fun. What is the plan with the LOL citadels being attacked at the moment? So the plan is they're all set to our time zone. VVV can't do anything about, and we will defend them. I mean, that's the obvious. Uh, uh, no, we 100% aren't saying you can't defend it, and I think that's the discussion here. Um, Toxia is we put the information out so everybody's on the same page as to what Yakai's done, what's transpired over the last week. So we're all on the same page because nobody likes shooting their friends without understanding what the hell just happened, right? And understand that Yakai, I would not have the super I have if it wasn't for Yakai, right? Like early in the days of supers, I helped a guy get a super and then he quit the game and wanted ISK for it that was being donated out. So Yakai helped me raise about a quarter of the money for that super at the time. And he loaned me the money. And so this it's gutted me as a friend of Yakai's to think that we have to do this. But at the end of the day, I don't want to push off more friends because of what Yakai's done. Yes, some more corps like Zach is shooting the LOL citadels. Um, but I think at the end of the day, we are going to address that and deal with that in a more I hope that we diplomatically can solve that. What I want to see is Silent standing on its own feet, more FCs, more home defense, and then we can get up there and again do the same thing that Yakai is doing do it to his people, and that's the only way you're going to get him to stop. I don't think we need to burn down their citadels or their pauses to make that happen, right? We don't want to chase off our friends, but we want his people to understand what's happening to us, and we want to obviously defend LOL citadels and their space. Like we don't want you to have to dock up anytime there's anybody from VVV in the area. So all that said, we have again tough love. Yeah, is a little rough. So uh, I hope you guys have appreciated the transparency because a lot of people not necessarily would go this far and give this kind of level of transparency. But at the end of the day, Winch and I are very pragmatic people, and we look at this as and we're all in it together, and we're ride or die together, right? If we're going to ask you to go to war, if we're going to ask you to do these hard things, I'm going to tell you why. And I want you to ride with me, not because I said so, but because we all believe in the same higher purpose, that we're here to hang out with our friends and have a good time. And occasionally we have to smack one of our friends around. It happens. We've all had a fight with a friend before, right? Um, Winch, I'll let you close it out. I've said a lot today, but again, thank you all for giving your time to us today. And I'm going to turn it over to Winch for some closing words.
Yeah, I think you've said it pretty much all. Like, I will say, like, just get into fleet, get into doing PvP, and get into defending your space. And that's pretty much all. And if you want to be an FC or want to be able to do ping, let us know. And I will thank you, everyone, for getting in here today and for like this hour and like 15 minutes of the fireside. And we'll see you each and all in fleet.
It's a perfect way to end it. See you in Fleet, guys. All right, take care.
See you guys. Thank you.